Hey everybody!
Hey everybody, Naj and Jay here. You already know this is one of our favorite spots in Wilmington, the Soul Firm, and we have the owner, the curator, the lady boss, top dog, Nataki. Hey. And we also have Big Mac over here.
The Mac. I already warmed her up for that.
She goes by Mac, but because she's here telling her story, she's Big Mac. To us.
She's a big deal.
Yes, and she is now a former student of DCAD, and she's here to tell her story, and we are really thankful for that. So let us begin.
Awesome.
I guess could you start by just explaining when you found out that the school was shutting down and like the circumstances around that, and also kind of how that impacted you immediately?
Real quick before you do that, can you tell us your year, where you're from?
Yeah, I am a rising sophomore now at Moore College of Art and Design in Philly, illustration major, and I am from New Jersey, around like Gloucester County.
Okay. All right.
So when did you hear about the news?
I heard about the news on the 23rd, I believe, of last month. It was either the 23rd or the 28th, a week after the semester closed, and everyone said, you know, like, see you next year, we're so excited. We got an email that was like, with heavy hearts, you know, we're sad to announce that DCAD is closing. It was super abrupt. There was like, unless you were like really close to student life, there were not a lot of like hints. There were a lot of students who were super blindsided. I know like when I first heard the news, I kind of laughed. I was a little bit in disbelief.
Wow.
And then like the longer I sat with it, like by that night I had scheduled like 5 different college visits. I had emailed numerous.
Wow. Oh, you got right to work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I don't play with my education.
As you should.
And like luckily one of my fellow students at DCAD, Julie Burb, she was like the biggest help. She organized the most information. She's how I got in contact with you guys and like why I'm here now.
Yeah.
And like she had spoken to a bunch of alum like within a week. She had gotten like I think 5 different students, alum, some current from like 3 different schools like PCAD and more, which DCAD did set up like in a transfer agreement with to try and make it a little bit smoother. But yeah, so it was very, very abrupt.
What was in the actual email that you received? Like, what did it say, if you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, I could pull up the email on my phone.
If you can do it quickly, sure, I'm all. That's perfectly fine. I love that.
Look at us getting to the bottom of things.
Y'all want Pacifics? We got Pacifics.
No,
Yeah,
no sense of
Oh God.
playing around with his gift.
I know. Well, I think what bothers me right now is that it was just an email.
Yeah, it was just an email, and
Were you eating? Oh my God, if I was eating ramen.
I was eating. I was having my morning oatmeal. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Were you mid-bite?
So you're starting your day like this?
Yeah, it
Wow.
was May 28th. Yeah.
Somebody smells good.
Swirl.
I would take that.
Right.
Tiffany and Company, Tiffany Nails.
Oh.
Okay. Rose gold, just like you know.
All right. So on May 23rd, 2024, I received an email from President Jean Dahlgren it was not just to me, but to the entire student body, at least the first years. It says, Dear Mac, with a heavy heart, I share the news that the Delaware College of Art and Design will be winding down operations in the coming weeks and eventually closing. We will no longer offer classes or confer degrees for the 24 or 25 school year. We did not make the decision lightly and sought after every possible avenue to avoid it. Declining enrollment over the last several years, including the upcoming school year, prevents us from adequately supporting our educational programs. We have worked tirelessly to find funding solutions, but none allow us to overcome the long-term problem of too few students. We acknowledge that DCAD's closure places you in a difficult position of selecting another institution to pursue your art and design higher education. We have made arrangements with the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design and Moore College of Art and Design to offer you streamlined direct admission to their programs of study. Both schools have agreed to offer tuition for an AFA that is the same or very similar to the cost of tuition offered by DCAD. Housing and fees may vary. The agreements are subject to the approval of Middle States Commissions for Higher Education, which we expect in the coming weeks. Representatives from both schools will be on our campus on Thursday, May 30th and Friday, May 31st to assist with any questions you may have and initiate the transfer process. We will also host Zoom meetings for those who cannot attend in person. Please register here. We are here to support you in every step of the way. Please remember to pick up any work you may have left behind at the end of the semester when you are on campus next week. For those unable to attend in person, please make an appointment with Christian Blanchard by Friday, May 31st. I am very proud of our 27-year history of educating and training the next generation of designers and artists like you. I recognize this news creates stress and uncertainty for you. We are committed to minimizing the impact on you, our faculty, staff, and alumni. If your questions are not answered during the upcoming sessions and follow-up communications, contact me directly. And then list her email, sincerely, Jean Dahlgreen, President, Delaware College of Art and Design.
When you got into Moore, are they accepting all your credits?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was part of the transfer agreement. Not only are our credits accepted at the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design and Moore, but also at schools like MICA, UArts before its recent and abrupt closure. We got a very small list that we actually initially weren't going to get if it weren't for the efforts of Julie Berg.
Wow.
And her reaching out to the dean directly and demanding this information.
So, go ahead.
It's funny, not literally, but interesting that you said your first reaction was to kind of chuckle, because that was mine too. And it's because it's so far outside of how you perceive the next 4 years of school is going to go. Like, I can't imagine, like you dedicate 4 years and you have a very clear vision, and I'm sure you do, because I can tell based on how you've already kind of talked. And like, what does that really feel like? Because I can imagine, just kind of using literally my imagination, but like, I also can't. Like, what did that feel like?
Honestly, it was a big shock. There was talk amongst me and a couple of other students about, seeing DCAD definitely coming to a close within the next decade. Though a lot of the signs were there, whether it be how the food was handled, the secrecy regarding finances, the inability to keep administrative staff in regular positions. People were coming and going.
Can you go in? Yeah. Can you go into what was the first thing she mentioned?
The food?
Not food. Before that.
Administration.
Administration. Oh, the secrecy around finances. What do you mean?
So I was a resident assistant for my first year.
Okay.
And in my particular case, I needed another job to just to make up income that I wouldn't be getting. To get compensated for my job, I got free housing, which was great, but I'm in the position where that's not enough in order to take care of food, because I have medical stuff that I needed to keep on top of. And I had asked a lot of questions, sent a lot of emails, met with financial aid numerous times, asking about getting employment, and there were I think federal restrictions in place where as an RA I cannot get a work study while there, but they never mentioned to me once that I could get a job outside of the institution. And instead they ended up giving me some money from the emergency fund, which only took me so far. Also when we were going through and setting up events, we had a lot of big aspirations. We wanted it to be a really good college experience, because coming in we were told that there was this huge divide in the previous year between first year and second year students.
Really?
And so we were trying to make the best experience, and every time we asked about budget or what can we do here, we never got any information. And I don't know if there was higher up stuff where they couldn't disclose that. Getting in contact with financial aid was very, very hard. There were only 2 people, to my knowledge, in the office for financial aid for 120 so students. So I understand that they are super overwhelmed, but I think that that speaks to like a bigger issue within the school and not prioritizing making sure that there's enough administration to match the staff and like not being able to keep people in their positions like I previously said.
And what was wrong with the food?
The food, there was a lot of cross-contamination and they weren't very transparent about that. Like I have IBS and I'm also vegan, which helps manage those symptoms. And they were cooking a lot of stuff on the same grills and the same oil. So like I would get super sick. A couple of my classmates who weren't vegan said that they got food poisoning a couple times. One person said that they found like a glove in their food. Another person found a large piece of plastic in their hoagie. Like, yeah, and so it was just like a lot of like mismanagement. And students could see it and students can feel it.
So why did you choose DCAD?
I was just about to ask that question.
Yeah. So like choosing DCAD for me, I graduated from a high school class of like some 60, 70 students.
Okay.
And I knew that DCAD was a small school and I had seen them pre-COVID at a college fair. And so I thought that they were like the greatest place on earth. They were actually the only college I applied to.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you got confident about it.
Yeah. And so like I chose them because they were out of state for me. So it was far. I got to experience like a little bit of independence, but it was close enough that if I needed to go home, I could. And the student body wasn't overwhelmingly large. Like my partner goes to a school that has like 30,000 students and I was like, that's so many. So like for me, like going to DCAD was like a transition.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it was like this is the next step, and like to lead into your previous question, like it was the next step, and it felt right, and it was like just another thing to go to reach my goal.
Yeah.
And like their closure and the lack of warning, it was just kind of shock. Like initially, like, you know, me and my friends, we laughed, and then like things got super serious.
Yeah.
We didn't know where we were going.
Right.
We didn't know if schools that were on our radars would accept our credits.
Yeah.
What exactly a transfer agreement entailed, which later those questions did get answered, but it was just so much, so quickly.
Yeah.
And not the greatest to be blindsided with.
Yeah, not at all.
What, Julie is a student?
Yes.
What year was she?
We were first years together, now sophomore.
So Julie hit the ground running.
Oh yeah.
Julie's great.
Julie is awesome.
And so what were you with her when she was like, I'm gonna do some things? Or like, did you?
Not in person.
Okay.
Me and a couple of other students had like a group chat from like previous hangouts, and we all immediately texted one another being like, did you guys get the email?
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah. And Julie was just like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. I want answers, I want to know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause like she had, like DCAD for her was like perfect.
Yeah.
It was close enough, it was really affordable compared to a lot of other art schools. And so like when she heard that Moore and PCAD were our transfer agreement options, she immediately reached out to alumni, you know, noted their experience, and alumni were great because they didn't sugarcoat it in any way, shape, or form. They were like, this school's awesome in these areas, poor in these areas, this is what you should look out for.
Yeah.
Which super appreciated.
Yeah,
so like big thanks to Julie.
Thanks to Julie.
What, as far as you know at this point, what are going to be the biggest differences between DCAD and where you attend in this coming year?
I think definitely the size.
Right. Like how much bigger is Moore?
Probably about like 5 or 6 times bigger.
Okay, that's significant.
Yeah, and not to mention with all of the other school closings that are happening.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, because like UArts, their abrupt closure, Moore was listed as one of the transfer options. I know that PAPA's closing their AFA,
What is
BFA,
that?
and MFA.
Path of Philadelphia Arts, Fine Arts.
Yeah, it's like Pennsylvania something fine arts.
Wow.
It's like a museum with a school inside.
Yeah, they're keeping their museum open and their K through 12 programs, but like they're local and also closing. Yeah. And like, not to mention, there's like, I think 7 or 8 other art institutions specifically all over the East Coast that have recently closed as well. So like, more is bound to see an uptick in enrollment.
Yeah.
Which, like, good for them, but it's also like
They're going to be swamped for a second.
Yeah. What did your parents say?
They were both kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm staying with my aunt, so like, and my mom's in a different state, and like my dad's getting his stuff figured out, so it was more of just kind of like, keep me updated.
Yeah.
At the time, there was not a lot that we could do.
Yeah.
It was just kind of rolling with the punches.
And does DCAD have dorms?
Yes, DCAD does have dorms.
The Seville, across the street.
Okay, so everyone has to move.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
So what's additionally wild about this is you're speaking, the way you talked about it, it seems like it was, like everything leading up to it was kind of long ago, but this is just your first year of school.
Just my first year in the last 9 months, yeah.
So how has all of this impacted, and you might not even know at this point because you're still digesting all of it, but like at this point, how do you feel like this has impacted your just general perspective on art as a career and school in general, you know?
It hasn't really deterred me much. My long-term goals are to actually go into art education.
Okay.
Which I think, like, having that be like my personal long-term goal, it's a little bit disheartening. Especially, like, it's definitely made me a lot more critical and like a lot more hard-pressed about, like, if I want information, I'm going to do my darndest to get it.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to dance around it like they did at DCAD.
Yeah.
Every time there was a question, it was like, oh, that is a great question.
I'll get back to you.
I have something funny to say after this interview.
Oh
But go ahead.
And so, like, it's definitely just kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I feel definitely a whole lot less naive than I did when I first went to DCAD, and like even in the application process. Like, before deciding to, you know, like, go to more, like, I was visiting schools up in New York. I visited more itself, and like Julie's awesome. Love Julie. Put together this huge list of questions that she had been asking alumni, and actually took that with me to ask, like, administration staff.
Okay.
Like, it was just a lot of like, I'm gonna grill you. Be
Right.
prepared.
Yes, as you should.
Yeah.
I mean,
At
you're
this point,
spending
they should expect it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is there anything that, because I know you've communicated with Julie as well, is there anything that she wants us to know?
She didn't me and Julie talked last night, and she didn't particularly give any direction as to what we should be talking about.
Okay.
Because she knew that Mac would be able to handle it very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're here with you
Yeah.
because we know that you have stepped up to help support the artists at DCAD. If you could talk to us about your experience with this whole situation that led up to the event.
So, and I want to be clear, y'all got the same email at the same time we seen the message online.
Come on.
No.
Yeah. The 23rd, right?
Yeah, the 23rd.
So the 23rd, I believe, was the same day that we got it. That it went to press.
I believe so. I'm not entirely
I think
confident.
so. I think we got it the same time.
Wow. So that's
Right?
What does that say to you?
Well,
I take that question back.
you got any wine?
Yeah. It's just.
Yeah, it was a lot of so I actually thought that y'all had like a little bit of time before we got the information. And once I did, do my little research, I found out that it was the same time. And I thought it was definitely a slap in the face and very disrespectful, because it was just, to me, it felt like we're just gonna press the button and just go.
Right, just let them all have it.
Just let them all have it. And it was the same time that the professors and the students turned out at the same time.
Yeah, that's so rough.
It really.
I mean, I don't want to just, well, we'll say what needs to be said, but even just thinking about the professors, like, anyone who works in education knows that, generally speaking, once you become a professor, like that's a career path, and you stay there. Like you really want to, especially with small schools, like you want to be there long term.
Yeah.
And so they're having an entire life ripped out from under them equally, if not more in some ways, because they're going to be there for decades.
For
potentially,
sure.
you know?
There is, and I'm not going to say her name because she may not even want to be, we didn't have the conversation, but there is a professor who actually started following me after this, and one of her posts right after this was like, the rug has been put underneath me. I don't have a job. I don't
career
know,
and a meaning and a purpose.
Exactly.
You know?
I don't know what I'm gonna do at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Wow.
So that was shocking. Once I found out that there was no and then I, speaking to Julie, it was like you said, have a good summer, and then you're not coming back.
Don't look for us.
Yeah, and so for me, it's a double-edged sword because I was a young creative all my life. And I grew up, I was telling Mac, and I told Julie, I grew up in a time in the 80s and the 90s that there was nothing creative. If you had a creative mind, I was just at community centers, winning contests, for drawing and stuff. And so there was no outlet, and which is why I went to FIT, because there wasn't it wasn't an institution here for me to pursue a career creatively.
Yeah.
And I, FIT, amazing. However, I was raising a child, and that would have benefited me if I had that outlet here.
Yeah.
Came back, I did get a certificate for graphic design at DCAD. So it's hard, and my son just graduated from college. Yeah. So all those things together, it had my mind in a uproar, because now it's taken 100 steps back for Delaware.
How so? Because I want to, I get it now that we've had a conversation, but like, can you explain to someone who really isn't in the arts how it could potentially, how it's going to impact our state specifically, Because you can speak on that, pretty
Literally, it is now, we had a DCAD was a small glimmer of hope to have creatives be educated here and stay here.
Right.
Right. The thing about it is, we know that we have creatives that we're in touch with. Some have chosen to leave because it hasn't been lucrative as an adult for their career. Yeah. Right. So if we are not raising the next generation in a stable institution that they feel safe, and there is no reason for them to stay because now we've taken that away. Right. They're now going to go to Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, Micah, wherever, and they're going to uplift those areas.
And they literally have no reason to come back.
They have no reason to come back. Yeah. So now the students that I have at the Teen Art Space, I've been working with them for 3 years now, and I'm working on something that may help. Right. It won't be immediate, but it was because I started hearing the conversations, talking to the parents and the kids, and I was referring them to DCAD was one of the options, So now I'm referring them as a creative in this state. You got to go out of state. Yeah. Well, I will say this: UD and Del State both have degree programs for creatives. They have the arts and education and fine arts. Bachelor's degree and master's program. So in that respect, there are institutions that have colleges within them to help. However, a dedicated institution, it is totally different.
I get that.
And so it still like kind of bothers me because I now see we've always kind of talked about like how the arts are not supported here. Yeah. In our respects,
They're supported. Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. They are supported where they feel as though it's necessary for that
when
moment.
When they need us. Right. For that moment.
And when they do use us for the arts, it is being used.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now to see that, and I will say this, there have been people that I've talked to because I've listened on social media, but I'm not talking too much. I'm only saying what I need to say, and I don't want to talk about it because facts are facts.
Right.
And then there are people who have their opinions, and we all have one. But I've talked to certain people who gave DCAD funding.
Yeah.
And now they're questioning
Go?
That's number one. Where did the funding go? And we are clear that some of the funding went to this technology room they built. Okay, so funding went. Some scholarships were given to some students to continue their education, and now the students are not going to go there anymore. So that's one thing. Where did the money go?
Right.
The other thing is, and which is very more problematic to me than just that. Now, since there has been funding given to a school that now is defunct, who would want to give them any more if this opportunity was to come back around?
Right.
Because now it's like, you didn't
know
do it right
what
the first time, so why would we give it to you again?
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of problems with this.
Yeah.
A lot.
And this, is there, maybe you answered this, do we know some answer as to why we're here?
The demise of it?
I said enrollment, but then there's got to be more than that.
So, looking at, right, there's definitely a lot more.
Big Mac don't play.
You want to speak on it?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's definitely a lack of enrollment, like not only just with DCAD, but with all the other abrupt closures that are happening throughout the states. It does speak to like a much larger issue of like the arts not being taken seriously. Like you had both said, we're only there when, you know, they deem it fit. And it's like not enough artists being artists, people who are artists on the side.
Yeah.
And like within DCAD, like a lot of stuff. Can you repeat the question real quick?
Like what
was the demise?
The demise.
The demise,
What do we think the demise was?
I think that it's definitely just a lack of respect for the arts.
Yeah.
I think that's truly what it is. It's mismanagement and a lack of respect for the arts. They were more focused on getting things like the tech center, which had, you know, like game consoles in it that a lot of students couldn't even use. A lot of like hefty technology, which I understand if it needs to be used supervised, but it wasn't made, you know, like super accessible to students. And not only that, we didn't get access to it until the latter half of the year.
And then there were other infrastructure things that could have went to.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
the food and
the food, yeah, but like not only that, our ventilation was not up to par, our plumbing was not up to par. So many other colleges offer much better facilities, like Rezo printers, which are like awesome and cool. You know, kilns, ceramics, different mediums that people can apply their art knowledge to.
yeah.
And instead, we got this tech center that we barely got to use, that raised our tuition. That sort of went to like nothing. So like DCAD's demise was definitely mismanagement, poor choices without taking into consideration what the students may want or need,
Yeah.
and a total lack of respect for the arts.
So,
Wait,
yes.
I have a question. You went to Morehouse.
Yes. You look at the camera, so it's like...
No, I was looking at
I was like, camera.
I was looking at my thoughts.
Camera on the wall. Go ahead, sorry.
Now I'm looking at the camera. You went to Morehouse. And the one thing that I know about HBCUs is that the alumni love HBCUs.
Absolutely.
They go back, they party, they give money, they serve on the alumni boards, they donate, they do fundraisers. What is the alumni excitement for art schools?
I think that the alumni excitement for art schools is like DCAD did have a lot of successful alumni. One of the alum, he does like illustrations for Brouhaha, which is local to Delaware. We have another alum, they do a lot of stuff with like Nickelodeon.
Okay.
So like there's a lot of successful alum, but they all graduated like pre-COVID.
Okay.
So they got to see the school in its prime, and the alum coming back to speak, it was more of so of like them extending like this helping hand of sorts, being like, I am a networking opportunity, please reach out to me.
Yeah.
So like the excitement was like building up artists, but I think for most alum at like any school, when you become an artist, it's more about like just sustaining yourself and like sharing, you know, like the stories you have, the art you have, your message like with the world, and just like having a livable wage. So like it's a lot of artists can't donate back to like their schools because they don't make the money for it. They make enough to pay their rent, to put food on the table, and maybe to get some like silly treats. But outside of that, it's like.
And me graduating from FIT, it was a different world. Like the grads from there are Calvin Klein and Donna Karan.
And that's even different, you know?
Right, that's what I'm saying, it's a different.
You need clothes.
Right, so.
I mean, you don't.
I mean, and so like even Vanessa Simmons, she, you know, Nikki Hilton, you know, names. But us being alumni on a different level, we're not at that level, we do support the alumni for FIT. We really do. And I that probably could have helped a little bit with DCAD. But to your point, how much could they have given monetarily? Oh girl, I thought that was something coming to get me. Oh my God.
It was sticking. No.
I'm like, the anti-art guys is getting me. What did I do?
You are protected. You good.
Oh wow. I don't even know what I was saying. Give me a warning.
I thought you said
the portrait came alive.
I thought you saw the toothpick. I thought you saw the toothpick.
But no. But to your point, it does. It takes financials to a whole lot of ways. It really do. And the day before the announcement was made, I was talking to Newcastle County, who is my partners for the Teen Art Space. And we bring a speaker in every year. And we pay the speaker to come in. It's a part of the plan. And the conversation literally was, Nataki, who are you going to bring in this year to speak? I said, this is the day before the announcement. Oh, I'm going to reach out to DCAD. And I'm going to have a professor come in and talk about, you know, the classes and everything. Literally the day before.
Wow.
So in turn, like, you know, we're going through the process of everybody's processing and things, but my mind is always, any situation, I'm a problem solver. In my mind, I'm just naturally, how do I solve this? And so, knowing the situation with the students, talking to Julie, you want to come talk to these students? You want to share? You want to talk about what you know, your process, what's next, how are you moving through this, and you're going to get paid. So, I wish I could do so much more.
So now that we're kind of in that space of talking about solutions, and you already kind of alluded to, there's just a fundamental lack of respect for the arts. Like, what, in your opinions, you know, and you might not have answers, but just your initial thoughts, like, what can we do is a big two-part question. Number one, what can we do to increase respect for the arts? And then what can we do specifically about the DCAD situation?
For in general, because we know that it's a trend. I want to say, I don't even want to put that on that because I just don't want to like, because a trend.
You see a pattern.
Yeah, it's like, that will say a pattern because trend sounds good.
Right. It's trendy, I was just going to fail a couple of times and then, right?
I
Your eyes, yes. Go ahead, sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She said, I'm going to be interviewed today.
See, here we go. It wasn't a typical interview, man. But
stop honking.
I can't help it.
And it's contagious, so I gotta stop. Jay, stop. But for me, for my insight in thinking about this whole situation, across the board, arts has never been respected, period, right? And the lack of respect in education has always been an issue, right? We've always seen it. We've always seen there's been celebrities who have put, Nas had a campaign, it was something with the arts, Alicia Keys was all involved in arts. But again, it's like temporarily and the moment.
Yep.
Long term, there needs to be, the starting point has to be when the kids are in elementary school and middle school.
Yep.
And even high school. It has to be there has to be a process during those times when kids they're talking about college and they're talking about education and they're talking about arts. There has to be a flow of, oh, you want to go into visual arts.
Yeah.
Well, you can go boom, 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 and start pushing that along the way early.
Yeah.
And it also, because the kids can say it, but the parents have to buy into this.
Yeah.
Not buy into it, but the parents have to be like,
get the support.
because I have parents asking me, what is the next step?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I give it to them, and DCAD was one of those. Especially when you're in state.
Yeah.
Arts, creative colleges are not cheap.
Yeah.
They're not cheap. And from what I understand, DCAD was not, so Delaware schools, Delaware colleges, students, residents, they're able to get an in-state scholarship.
Okay.
To have
Yes.
the tuition paid. I was under there, I was told that DCAD could not get that.
Okay. I don't know.
So I was told this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Which means that's like not okay, because if I want to go to Goldie Beacom, Dell State, UD, blah, 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 Wilmington University, and I can stay in state and get this scholarship and take biology,
Right.
then why can't I have the same respect for if I want to go to DCAD and take illustration and I'm in state?
Yeah.
So it's things like that that bridge, like being very intentional on the path of what will happen when they get to that stage, and we're just not sending them out to the wolves, and then they just choose something else because it just makes sense at the moment, but it's really not what they want to do. So starting early is the key, for real.
I want to ask you, because I was a child, so my parents were worker bees. Like it didn't matter what the job was. They had bills to pay, so they were going to go to work. So although I'm an artist, it's taken me until now, 32, to really dive into my artistry and throw out my parents' ideals as much as possible. So for you, what said to you, I know what y'all are doing out here in these streets, but this is what I want to do and I'm going to stick to it?
Well, my story's like not super clean cut.
Okay.
I had a big traumatic death in the family when I was super young, and so up until sophomore year of high school, I wanted to be a neonatal nurse.
You want to be a what?
A neonatal nurse.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like it was a huge switch for me. COVID was like, because I had the very same mindset where it's like, I was maintaining a 4.0. I was in extracurriculars on top of extracurriculars on top of a job where I was working 36 hours a week on top of school, on top of extracurriculars. Jesus. And I was like getting it. I was
In high school.
She
In
sounds
high
like
school,
me.
yeah.
That's my
In
high
high
school.
school. Okay.
And so then COVID hit, and I worked at a Taco Bell, so obviously, I still had to go to work. And so like doing all that, and then eventually hit the point where it was total lockdown. And so I was just kind of at home, and I had so much time to think and so much time to reflect, and I realized that like the goals that I had were a little bit naive, and that trying to stop people from like experiencing the same pain that I felt, even though it was outside of my control. It was outside of anyone's control, really. And then like switching to like, what is sustainable for me? What is something that I could do for the rest of my life and be happy with, and never want to shy away from? And that had always been art. Like I always had my hobbies, but art was like it. That's, you know, despite like trying to get into college courses early in high school, like I spent majority of my days filling sketchbooks, being in the art room. And so COVID, having all that time to reflect, I was like, okay, this is going to be my switch. And then in high school, I was like, because I was like the art kid, everyone was like asking me how to do stuff, and all my teachers were like, "You're a natural. You should be a teacher."
Do something practical.
And honestly, like they were right, because going to DCAD, like for all the flack that I give that school, and trust me, there's like a lot. You know, like it did like solidify for me that like our education is what I want to go into. And like being the best educator that I can possibly be, and being that like teacher in school who is there for me in my time of need, like being that for like next generation was like super important. And that's like what took me down the path of like being an artist. And I decided to go for a BFA just because like if I'm going to teach people art, I might as well be good at it. I feel like that's super important.
So actually, so let's open this up a little bit. So I think a lot of times part of the lack of respect for the arts is because people don't appreciate the process and the diligence that goes into really, you know, maintaining high level artistry. So for you, you know, just talk to us about how you feel about like the sort of like institutional art, you know what I mean, in terms of the value of really having like real arts education in a formal way, you know what I mean? Because I think, oh, I just draw, I'm just good, you know what I mean? But and it can be that, like, you know what I'm saying? But like, why do you, I guess my question really is, why do you value the formal education component of art?
So like first and foremost, it's like, it's definitely, there's a small teeny bitty smidge that's like, it's just a formality where it's like, okay, like to get my degree and to do what I want to do, like this is part of reaching that goal, right? But then like moreover, it's like being surrounded by other like-minded individuals who have the same or very similar goals and getting, you know, that feedback right then and there. Because there's definitely like a lot of talk where people are like, oh, art school will become obsolete because you can learn everything online. And that's true to some extent. Like majority of, you know, the skill that I like came into DCAD with, I had learned from like watching people online or like Googling PDFs and then like copying down exercises. But like I've never seen such a drastic improvement in my art than when I was in a formal setting.
The critique is like
it's super important, and like also learning how to take that criticism. And a lot of what, like every time a professor would give us an assignment and we would be like, this sucks, we don't want to do this.
But
they would always clap back with like, this is, you know, not only for your education to improve your technical skill, but also to get you prepared for what it's like to be in a professional setting.
And that's the thing. We were talking about this recently, because my dad was in the military, and he's very militant. And for me, of me and Jay, I may come off as the more professional, more elegant, more classy.
That's not you.
More intelligent person.
I'm very classy. Look at my classy face, okay?
But there would be no Naja J if it weren't for Jay, because I wake up every day and I'm like, who do I want to be? What do I want to do today? I don't want to do that today. I'm going to do something else. But when I was in military school, although I hated it, I was very regimented. Like I had a schedule and I knew what needed to be done, and my uniform had to be a certain way. So for college, for a lot of artists, I think it's beautiful because it gives you that real life experience of deadlines, critiques, how to handle them, using different, learning how to send a proper email, creating a proposal.
It's such a big pet peeve. I think proper emails are so important.
Yes. So those things, I could watch a video on YouTube on how to submit a proposal, but really to get down to the nitty gritty of the font and the usage of words and things like that. we need those things as artists, and we need the discipline.
Please. Yeah.
You spoke on the community.
On what?
Community within the arts. I could not breathe here. I went to FIT I came out 2009, so I went with 2004, something like that. I was grown, but I felt so suffocated here, and I just knew that there was nothing. And I got into Parsons, I got into Moore, but there was the community that I needed to be around to be able to talk the same language, to speak the same thing. And on top of that, it also is getting there is networking.
Yeah.
You can't do that behind a computer.
Nope.
You can't do that on YouTube University. Sorry, people, but you can't. So that was another aspect of it. And also opening my eyes to knowing that there are careers. I graduated with a technical design degree for accessories, and then I went back and got my bachelor's in international trade and marketing. But I knew how to do the technical drawings and that type of thing. But I did not realize until I got there that there were so many other careers outside of just designing. You know, one of my first internships was at Cotton Incorporated, and I was working on the forecasting of colors for cotton.
Wow.
You know, working with scientists who choose the colors that go out to the designers of what the color of cotton options are for the season. So me going there was a whole nother world of what creativity could look like. I just found out within like the last 5 years that there is a woman, I follow her now. She's an instructor at FIT, but she is a color psychologist.
Oh, yes. I've heard of those.
So she went to
that thing is it's so cool.
The way you said it.
It's so cool.
So it's like
I think we'll be that tomorrow.
Right? But there's so many things that I wouldn't have learned if I did not go to a creative school. And on top of that, when I came back and I went to went to DCAD. I went to DCAD like on a humble. It was like I was unemployed. I literally had to take FIT off of my resume and just put State University of New York when I came back, because everybody was like, FIT, what's that? So I was like, okay, I just got it down, just say a State University of New York for them to respect me.
Wow.
Right? Crazy. So I was unemployed when I came back. I came back out of the recession. Dead. When I got just working. Was unemployed for a period of time, and Department of Labor had a program where they would pay for your education if it was a career that was lucrative. Like you couldn't just say, I want to scrape paint off the walls, and they're like, we're going to pay for your education.
Lord have mercy.
So I was like, okay, DCAD is here. I can still fulfill my creative energy. I need graphic design. I need to know these type of things. I need to know to take this to a step further, right?
Yeah.
And I had no idea, and I think a lot of people, I think DCAD even missed the mark on this. There's a whole population that could go to DCAD for continuing education as adults. You could work, you could work during the day, still raise your family, go take classes in the evening and get certification.
Yeah, and I need to make this point because we're kind of glossing over it, and I think there's two pieces to it. I'm having two thoughts. Number one, perfect example is me with the photography, because I've taught myself a lot, you know, and I've gotten reasonable on my own. But I know for a fact that if I had guided structure, that I would improve greatly, because, and this is a point that I don't think enough people think about, and I'm just making a comment honestly, is the process of becoming a good artist is really similar to an athlete. So, you know, a good boxing coach knows your strengths, your weaknesses, they know where to push, when to push, what direction you specifically need to go in, all of those things. And a good, you know, voice instructor, a good, you know, art instructor in general is going to cater what they give you to, there's a class, but like,
Right.
they're gonna be like, no, you have to work on this.
Yeah.
Those things that you wouldn't work on, like whatever if you really struggle with your low notes as a singer, the teacher's gonna be like, no, we're gonna actually sit with these low notes. And
Right.
if it was me, I'm just gonna run away from it and go, ha, ha, ha. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's the same, that's why these institutions are valuable,
Correct.
is my
Yes.
point. Yeah.
And like, I didn't even realize this. I don't know if you know, as a photographer, Saquon's, he's a photographer for Delaware Online. Really, really big. He's a DCAD alumni.
Okay.
Wow.
You know, so and I feel like once all this happened, I was like, darn. I feel like DCAD probably missed even like the older ones who could do continuing education, like who
Yeah.
could speak like it was success.
Yep.
And I wonder that it really makes me think, number one, the word president keeps coming back to my head. And I want to know, was the president personable? Has anybody spoken to him? Has he?
Her.
Oh, her. Has anyone spoken to her?
Sexist.
Has anyone spoken to her? Has she made herself available to the public and to the staff and students? Where is she at in all this? Because in my mind, I'm immediately thinking about the top dogs. Because when we see companies go down, we know
Starts from the top.
it starts from the top. So I want to know what's going on with her.
Go ahead.
So, I got more than one chance to meet with Jean, just like because of like the nature of my job and my role at DCAD. Some of which were like going to her, not for the greatest of reasons. Sometimes it was running to her at events, but a lot of students said that they didn't know who she was. One of the other RAs was a second year who recently graduated, noted that like the president had thought that he was a first year and like didn't know his name. And so like, yes, if you did happen to run into her, she was super personable, but I wouldn't say that she went out of her way or made an effort to get to know the student body.
Okay. I mean, it's only 104, y'all, so at this point.
You would hope, especially because like in my job description in the contract that I signed.
As an RA.
As an RA,
Right.
yeah. I had to know like all of the student body by first and last name.
Oh, wow.
And that was like part of my job description. And I did. I won't.
I
I know she did. Look, I know she did.
But like I still have some of the names of students, even commuters, who went to our school, like first and last name, majority, if not all of the first years and some of the second years. Just because like that's
Personable.
It's personable.
Yeah.
It's personable, and I feel like it's really important to like build those connections.
Yes. That's what college is for. One of the reasons we go to college is to connect.
Yeah. So in the case of like the president, it was more of you had to go find her and less of the otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do?
Wait.
So,
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
well,
It's about to get good. No, kidding.
I did do my best to reach out to people. The mayor, I posted it. I wasn't making a call to an office. I knew that wasn't going to work. But I did make a call. Put them on blast on social media. The mayor when this first happened, and I also tagged Tina Betts.
Okay.
Tina Betts reached out to me Sunday to talk about the demise, but at this point I'm already clear on what the demise is, and it's just like we need solutions.
Yeah.
I did reach out to the president at DCAD, but I still have not got a response back yet.
Okay.
So my thing was not waiting for a response. Let's keep this party forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did have I had a sit down conversation with Tizzy Lockman. Me and Tizzy talked. And Tizzy gave me a lot of insight on what had happened, which is why I know about like funding was given, things like that. The problem is that it was given, and now people are like, well, we're leery, because there would have been things that were going to come down the line, that were going to actually help DCAD.
So the other thing that pops into my mind is the phrase "out of touch." And when you talked about the technology room and the technology stuff, you talking about the continuing education sector that would have benefited. Were the people who were in charge there for a very long time, and were they out of touch? Because I feel like for a college to completely shut down like that, there has to be something blocking them from opening their minds. Because when you look at the headlines, I feel like Del State, the president,
Tony Allen,
every day, that man has expanded some program with some organization and got this check and that check, and they doing this, and like aviation, equestrian, the horses. They got horses, baby. Okay, we doing
graduation.
Listen, there's tons of stuff. So, and with art being so vast,
Yes.
so vast, what?
So we were talking about this before y'all came in. Because I think a lot of these institutions that were in place from like DCAD 27 years, UArts, PAFA, all of them, I think they got really complacent and just kind of like stuck, and we'll coast.
This is what we have.
This is what we're going to stay.
I just don't know how.
I know.
It's just
So like Rhode Island, they're somewhere in the process. And even Del State, not even creative, but Tony Allen was at Bank of America. He was there and he became president of Del State. But Rhode Island, Del State, somewhere somebody said we need to come up with the times because our enrollment is taking a hit.
Yes.
And we got to change something, our
Yes.
marketing, our what we offer.
Yes.
Case in point, FIT. FIT is one of the recognizable names across the world as far as an arts institution. And I noticed as an alumni in the I don't know what happened behind the scenes because I've always thought FIT was probably, cool. They got big names and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I noticed something in the last like 5 to 6 years that they changed how their communication was, and they've upped the ante, and they've added like sneaker design. Like that's a degree program. And even there I've seen it. I've been watching them, and when this came about, it was just like if FIT had to do this, that means that
schools need
the
to be also
schools
changing
that
dramatically.
are not at that level
Yeah.
should take a note and say, wait a
Yeah.
minute, if this is what the trend, and we see
Yes.
a trend with FIT,
Yeah.
we see a trend with Del State or whatever,
Yeah.
we may need to change how we moving because I've seen how it is brighter.
Yeah.
Our graduations were in Radio City Music Hall. They're now in like Central Park outside now. So it's like little things like
You
that.
have to.
You
You
know,
have to
Well,
change with the
especially
times.
because things are getting more and more expensive.
Exactly.
You have to
You
give me
gotta
a
show,
good reason
right.
to want to spend that much money.
Why do I want to come here? Why do I
Yeah.
want to stay?
Yeah.
What are you? And I feel like I do feel like DCAD had really good programs. I think when I was there, like the illustration and graphic design, animation, I was just as a continuing education. The professors were amazing. They were very, very educated.
Yeah.
The people who were in the classrooms were very, very involved. Like I was in a class with a 16-year-old student. We were taking the same classes.
Yeah.
But we're all being taught at our level. We're all going to come out of this with the right thing.
Right.
And not to say that DCAD did not need to expand their areas as far as like
Yeah.
visual arts, but what they had, it was enough that if they thought, because the conversations that I'm have had, that they knew this, they were shaky 2 years ago.
And that's the problem.
And so the buildings were up for sale 2 years ago.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this problem didn't
You
just.
would never know that,
No, I didn't know
Right,
that.
of course.
So
She did know.
knows.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there was like a.
Because she
doing
was
a
an
fellowship.
RA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like.
Right, okay,
you
gotcha.
get
Yeah,
the inside scoop.
So-
So we was talking about
And
that.
that's so then, okay, my last point before we get to your event. The love of art.
Yes.
For you to be working at an institution that teaches it, you have to love it.
You do.
You have to love it with all of you. Was there a was there a continued love? Was there a fall out of love? Because for me, when you have an institution, when you have a business, I don't care if you sell socks, regardless of the fact that you sell out of your black, white, and brown socks every year, you have to add another color. You have to add another style, regardless, because the way that the world works is that it's forever changing.
Right.
Especially as an artist. Artists, I have to, like, the whole purpose is to continuously grow. But.
So if you truly love socks, you're going to continue.
Correct.
If you truly love art, even if 3 years ago y'all was stable, there's always more. That's why President Tony Allen is constantly adding more.
But then and to your point, Tony Allen is he's a Kappa, so which means that HBCU pride is deep rooted. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the people at the top, whether it's in Delaware, Wilmington's politicians, who's in charge of arts and culture, who's in charge of DCAD, there has to be an investment of, I feel invested in this. Yes. I came from this.
And what are they, that's the thing, what are they setting up for these art? Now, we had this conversation last week, is when you go to, let's take HBCUs out of it. When you go to Widener University. Yes. When you walk in there for student orientation, they give you a list of jobs that you could get. Before you even step foot in your first classroom, there was a list of jobs. When you go to these art schools, are they setting you up? Do they have these relationships?
I will say DCAD probably didn't.
Well, we just talked about how the girl was poisoned, okay?
It was like, there was definitely like a noticeable, at least from certain professors, there were like a handful, like a good 2 or 3 that were super passionate and that you could tell care, but majority of them had kind of like lost that light in their eyes. Yeah. Like a couple of the professors had talked about how like they're really here mainly for a paycheck. They want to see us improve.
Not no more.
You can't say that.
Exactly. And you know, like a couple of the professors who like they weren't teaching classes that were their specialty. They were just kind of teaching classes. Exactly. Wow. It was like I said, there's not a lot of administrative staff. Keeping people in positions was super hard. And so then you had a bunch of people filling positions that weren't built for them, that weren't designed for them, that they couldn't teach to their best of their ability because that's not what they do.
The whole morale was down.
Yeah.
Basically, you went to a public school college.
Yeah. Got it. Honestly, when I didn't even realize that DCAD was a private institution until the school, till the end of the semester, the school, when it closed and seeing the emails and reading some of the articles that came out where it was private college. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. But definitely. And as far as networking goes and how DCAD didn't have a career center. DCAD, we didn't know that this gallery was here.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah. We didn't know that this gallery was here.
Aren't you an alum?
Wow.
Yeah, there was, and there's numerous other galleries. There's actually an art district within Wilmington. We didn't know.
Girl, my head hurts.
Yeah,
And actually, to this point, which is why I called you specifically, is because of this separation. And I gotta be dead ass.
You didn't know there was an art district?
No. But this is my whole point, actually.
But it's not really being told.
The reason I called you
surprised about the district
is because, when I first heard about it, I was like, my first reaction was, oh, that kind of sucks. But then I didn't realize that it was much bigger than that for a lot of people. And I think if there wasn't that disconnect, I would have gotten it immediately. Yeah. And if there wasn't that disconnect, that there would have been more people who would have jumped in quicker and really recognized, oh, no, there's something wrong here, then let's fix this thing ASAP. You understand what I'm saying? There should be no gap between their school and the community.
No, not at all. And
this is too much. Yeah. There's so much I want to say. There's so much happening in my brain right now that I.
Part 2 of this interview.
Now she goes on a rant.
But I am, after, you know, hearing everything, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I'm not
that is
surprised.
wild.
I'm really not.
That is
And
right.
there was an alumni who commented on the post of what's going to happen in the event. And he's a DCAD alumni. And he said, wow, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, wow, finally the students are actually able to sell their art, because when I was there was no option.
Go ahead, what were you going to say?
There was no option.
So
Sorry.
You can confirm that?
Yeah. I actually, before DCAD's closure, I was set to run Gallery Club next year.
Okay.
And I was super excited to correct a lot of the wrongs that were the Gallery Club. So you had mentioned that you had interviewed somebody who exhibited at that gallery. The gallery space that is used for outside exhibits, current enrolled students were not allowed to put their art in.
Why?
We weren't really given a reason. We were just kind of told this is the way that it is.
Now we know why y'all closed.
Yeah, it was, and like students, unless current enrolled students were willing to give a portion of their earnings from their art.
The commission.
Well, you are. You're paying tuition.
Yeah, we were capped at $300 per piece. Oh. Like that is as high as we could mark our art, and we were all the way in the back of the lobby on a wall, and the Gallery Club didn't provide frames. So a lot of art was hung up with tacks or with like little tacky strips. It was unprofessional. It was disappointing, and it's not like there wasn't room. DCAD actually in this past year held a student and alum. It was like called DCAD and Friends exhibit.
Yeah.
And all of the students were under the impression that current enrolled students counted as friends of DCAD. And when we were inquiring about like, oh, like when are deadlines, when can we submit our art, you know, do we get to choose where in the gallery it goes, we were told that it was reserved for just alum, just faculty.
That is, to me as a musician, like going to music school and telling that you, like, I can't do a show without paying on campus.
Hold my peace
Like,
for
that
a
is
second.
Unbelievable. I mean, I'm trying to, like, there's gotta be a good reason, but then, like, there can't, like, how? It's impossible.
It's not like students didn't fight for it either. There was an entire
That's fundamental to what you do.
I pay for this building.
Like, right.
And it's the thing of you're not preparing them for what's next.
Well,
That's not realistic. No. It's not realistic.
It wasn't, and even in the DCAD and Friends like exhibit, there was empty wall space. There was empty wall space, and that was probably the most frustrating part. Some of the art, and this is not to say what is art and what is not art, but some of the art that was put up was like pipe cleaner sculptures, small, little, tiny little pipe cleaner sculptures.
That y'all could have wrapped around, y'all could have did that with y'all's eyes closed.
And like
based off what I see here, it's no question.
And the walls that faced like the windows,
yes.
They actually just pushed the gallery walls up against those windows and let those walls black.
What is that about? I'm really literally floored by this one.
That I didn't know.
So someone commented on the post, somebody's post about DCAD closing. And it was about how there's no dedicated space.
Jay, close your mouth.
I can't. I am like, and I don't get there often.
It was about the fact that there's no dedicated space or institution that is focused on showcasing visual art. Number one, I don't agree with that.
Okay, I remember because I think
yes. I don't agree with that because we have places like the Soul Firm. We have places like MKT and Chris White Gallery and several other places. I mean, even Delaware Contemporary has done quite a bit. But what I will say, within his comment, it made me think about what's going on in Wilmington right now. There is a rise in the anger of the artists, whether it be visual art, music, things like that, sculptists, whatever. There is a rise because we are noticing quite loudly that institutions, organizations, and businesses are not respecting us in any way, shape, or form, but they are demanding that we provide our talents for them. And hearing that
is wild.
So I want to give y'all context. Me and Jay, go back and watch it. We interviewed Aleem Smith yesterday night, who is a world-renowned
literally world-renowned.
from this
like, this
city.
Isn't like we're not exaggerating.
Not exaggerating.
Right.
He was in Paris,
Right.
showcasing.
He did the show Atlanta. He did artwork for the show. Like I don't
literally.
Roots.
Like, so he is literally a world-renowned artist, and they disrespected him. And
Who disrespected him?
DCAD.
Okay.
There was a whole kerfuffle. Go watch the interview. Yeah, capital C. And someone had said to me, "Did we reach out to DCAD?" And Jay knows I go by my gut, right? I always go by my gut. My gut didn't tell me to reach out to DCAD at all. Like there was a block there. It was like, part of me don't feel like I need to, because I feel like there's a pattern with a lot of the businesses in this area and artists, and I believe the artists.
We know
Now I
Aleem,
see.
and like I know that he is
If it's one thing,
one
he's
of those
not.
people who
He's
is
not
so
a liar.
far out. He is honest. He's one of those classic
You don't
artists
want him around
who
you.
is
That's how
honest to
honest
the
he
point
is.
of being a flaw. He's going to say stuff he shouldn't say because he's being so honest,
And
which is what he did.
Now I know why my gut said, "You good, sis.
There's no need to go there.
There's
told
no
you.
need to go there."
I told you. I told you. Sorry, I'm back.
But I'm really, number one, we should have started this.
Apologies.
I
right?
want to apologize
Yeah.
to you and what you're going through and have gone through. From the moment you stepped into that school until the day that you leave this state, I'm sorry, because it is a poor representation of the community that lives here and that thrives here and is trying to continue to thrive.
Yeah.
And she seems like you can tell that you were
You
someone
would
who would
fit
fit
in.
right in
Girl, we would
and
be-
add to the community.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Honestly,
saying?
yeah, like getting to like go around and like I did talk to a couple people. I got to know some of the locals, like the unhoused population. Like we chatted, and so like the community, like I did know it's not anything of the city. All of the blame, and I feel like I can confidently speak for both like myself and now I guess you could consider us alum of DCAD.
Child.
By default, right?
Right. That's hysterical.
It's definitely like not Wilmington. Once
Yeah.
students started to get curious, and once we started, like we reached out. There's a gallery that I think just opened up called the Artomat, the Art
Yes.
District.
Yes.
So
Yeah, like getting
Now
to
she
like
knows.
right.
actually learn about the area, and like there was just so much, and there is so much art, and there's so much community surrounding it
Yeah.
in this area that DCAD did not take
Involve
advantage
us.
of.
What a wow.
And that right there.
We really would have, I mean, the people that I spoke to about, hearing, and they're like in real estate. So they were privy to that information a couple years ago as to what was going to happen. And I don't know if they didn't, I don't think nobody grabbed it at the moment. But had I had known, I definitely would have been like, wait a minute, hold on, wait,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yes.
Or
Time for a
like,
mixer.
or
Time
like
for
what
a-
is happening here? We need to save this. We need to
Yes.
stop this right now. I would have been completely invested and in the process. So it really, again, I've apologized to you and Julie, and
But
I apologize, seriously.
what I can say, just
For what
based off
happened.
of this conversation that we've had with you, you're going to be a very great art
Amazing.
teacher.
Thank you.
And the kids or the adults, whoever you teach, are going to be very lucky to have you.
Yes.
I have a very fundamental question, and I think it's actually really important. What is it about, like, why do you do what you do? Why do you do art? You know?
Honestly, because I like
was gonna
it.
say, can we-
Of course.
Ooh, child. I got to do my arm workouts.
Matter of fact, hold it up, and I'm gonna kind of zoom in a little bit.
This one's a little scary, but I can't stop
Kinda-
looking
it
at
looks like
it.
cubism.
It was, that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was from observation. We were drawing
There we go. I'm gonna zoom in.
a model head in class.
Oh, okay.
It's like a solid white figure, and they shine a super bright light on it.
So it pick up.
Yeah.
You know what he looked like? He looked like the zombie from I Am Legend.
Yeah.
The real strong one at the
yeah.
end. That like, yeah.
Yeah. It, like for me, just art is just, it's something that I enjoy. I find fulfilling. I like creating beautiful things.
Yeah.
This looks like the plant that I killed by accident.
Oh gosh. Rest in peace to the plant.
Yeah.
But you brought it back to life, man.
You did? Look at it. Look, sitting on my windowsill.
Yeah, for me, it's like I like creating beautiful things,
So
and art has been like a huge outlet for me and got me through so many hard
Keep holding
Well,
on.
we'll do that.
experiences.
This is the big booty skeleton that you
This
have?
is so these last two portraits, she's been watching me. I gained weight recently, and this is what it looks like when I look in the mirror. I got a
You
boom
sit back
coon,
there.
a boom coon booty. You see it from the front.
I do. Peach. You got that peach.
And then this one she got when I'm laying in bed watching Bridgerton.
Yes.
Hold on, just a little bit higher. No, lower, a bit lower. I'm gonna get super close on that.
All she misses is the snacks. That's it, the little
Dear
crumbs.
readers. What's she saying?
Dear gentle reader.
Gentle readers. That is us after work watching Bridgerton.
Close that door.
Beautiful.
Girl, you got this one. I might have to get this one off your shoe.
Is it gonna be in the shop?
Oh yeah, a lot of
Okay.
the stuff that I brought today, I plan
Like my
on
seat back.
putting on sale.
I'll put it back.
I love it. I love it. Now, speaking of the show, because you already know Nataki, the boss lady, she's solving problems. You know, she's the ultimate connector. So tell us what you're doing for these students.
I wanted, first of all, I didn't know what direction to go in. I just was like, I didn't know. But shout out to Julie again. Julie, Julie Santiago. I commented on Instagram on Delaware Online's post about the closing. And I think that was like the next day.
Okay.
And I commented and I just was like, I'm just flabbergasted. I'm just sad about this situation. I didn't put a whole lot into it, to my comment, and I went about my situation with whatever I was doing. And got an alert, and an alert was from Julie Bird. Didn't know who that was, but the comment was, it was like a little paragraph, and she was like, hey, my name is Julie, I'm a DCAD student in animation. We are really sad about what happened. Excuse me, me and the students, we built a community, and I would really like, you know, just to go. She didn't ask me to do what I did.
Right.
She was just like, just go to my story and you'll see what the students are doing. So she did that, and she did that for another artist here. And I went down and I'm like, oh, she didn't do this for everybody. So I didn't know if Julie, like, you know, knew anything about me, or just went to my, you know, just like, I'm just gonna take a gamble and see what happens, right? It was a good gamble.
Yeah.
So I went to the story, and it was like, you know, when you go to somebody's Instagram story and they look like dots. She was sharing all of these students' artwork, and it was like, we're taking commissions, we're selling our artwork, da 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 da. And I'm just looking like, oh my goodness. And it was just over. And then they were, in turn, I would go click on one and I would go to their story, and they were doing the same thing. So all the students were just like, we got to make this thing happen, right? So it was like over the weekend, like last weekend. And I sent Julie a message, and it was like, because, you know, Instagram hides messages now. So it was just like, it was weird. We couldn't get it together. So finally, I like was commenting on her story, like, I got you a message in there, you know. So she gave me a whole nother page. It was like, I don't know what happened, let's talk. So I was like, okay, we're gonna talk on Wednesday. We talked last Wednesday and started off apologies, right?
Yeah.
And we just started rolling and talking about everything.
Yeah.
And at that point, as she's talking, it just started coming to me.
Yeah.
This is what I knew, that my calendar for June, I have a couple events, but I knew that Shantae's was going to Chris White, hence why the walls are empty.
Yeah.
Got a couple more events, and I wasn't going to have anything that would stop me from offering my space to the students. So I was like, Julie, listen, guess what we Gary do? We Gary have an art sale. And I said the whole week of the 24th all the way to the 30th, I said, y'all can run it the whole week. I really don't care. if that's too much for you, we can prep that week, but run it how you want to, like, how do you want this, you know?
Yeah.
And so she was very appreciative, and it came down to the week of the 24th, we'll prep.
Yeah.
The 28th, the 29th, and the 30th, I told her, whoever you can find, fill these walls top to bottom with artwork. Art sale for DCAD students, no commission. I'm not taking anything from them. And it's so weird that I'm listening to what you said about, like, that is crazy, right? So I was just like, I didn't even know none of this until now, as far as the gallery there goes. But it was off the rip, like, it's no question, it's no commission. Y'all take what y'all can get.
Yeah.
We're running for 3 days. 3 days. That Friday, I'm gonna take off for work, but let y'all know, PTO is in. I won't be there. Prepare the others. But it will be the 28th, 6 to 9 in the evening.
Okay.
And then Saturday and Sunday will be from 12 to 6.
Okay.
So we will be here. Julie, I know you'll be here.
I will be there.
There's a student who has jewelry. She's going to be selling her jewelry here.
Okay.
And don't know, me and Julie are touching base this Saturday.
Okay.
So we've been doing our touch bases.
Yes.
So this Saturday was, and Julie's like real good with it. Like, she made a Google Doc. She's so organized.
Okay.
She's making sure that any questions.
Consultant on your resume.
Okay.
Julie.
There you go. And then, like, you know, the questions that the students were having, we texting, I'm answering the questions. Even last time when she stopped past the art space, we had some more questions, conversations. But Julie really is the catalyst that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do something.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm reaching out to her. Like, I was in her, like, let's DM. Like, I'm here for you. Let's, you know, whatever. And it just all came together. And then I sat last week and I was just like, let me just start making this flyer information.
You made the flyer?
I did.
It was bomb. It is bomb. I was going to ask you off camera. I'm like, but did you make that?
But you know what? It's crazy because that's what I learned from DCAD.
I love that.
Graphic continuing education. Like, that was a part of me being able to do all my flyers and stuff now. Without having my website was all me.
Wow.
From that, you know,
I
taking
love
those
it.
classes. So that's what's happening the 28th, the 29th, and the 30th.
What is the name?
I named it Breaking News DCAD Arts Student Art Sale.
Okay. And it's the 28th through the
June 28th through the 30th.
Through the 30th.
It's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay. There is way more to be said. This is deeper than just DCAD closing. This is
a regional issue right
now. Yeah. But I want to end this on, and Jay, I want you to piggyback off what I'm saying. I don't want anybody that is studying art to feel as though they are not good enough or that they are not needed. Art has changed so many lives, and the lives of people that don't even realize it. What you do matters. To some people, it may be, you know, oh, you're just drawing, but in reality, art literally saves lives. So don't take these school closings, because it's going to continue to happen, unfortunately. But don't take them to heart as if this is not what you're meant to do. There's going to be adversity. For the first years, there's going to be adversity through your entire life. And for the people who are graduating, there will be adversity on the other side of that stage. Please know that no matter what you're doing, you are on the right path.
Piggybacking off what you're saying, one of the special thing about artists is obviously that we're passionate people, and we do what we do regardless of money. And I think that in as much as we all have bills to pay, there is an overemphasis on becoming super rich and on just making money, and we need more people like both of you, quite frankly, who are focused more on what you're passionate about. And that's a really valuable thing, because if you don't have these kinds of people, we don't get these sales. You know,
Yeah.
you don't get an opportunity that you're creating for these students. You know what I mean?
Community.
You don't get that community. People who are just worried about the bottom line and dollars don't do these things that really build community. So even you can see with what Julie, who I've never met, I hope I can meet her soon with this thing.
Yeah.
But she's creating community.
For sure.
Like she's literally bridged us all
Literally.
together. Like without her saying what she said, none of this happened.
Exactly.
And there's a huge, you know, the value of that in itself is tremendous because we learned right now today that there's been a huge chasm between the students and the community. And to bridge that is major. So I have just one more question actually. What is your sort of biggest hope that you hope, what's your biggest hope that will come from this situation?
I really, and this is a sign of the times, not just for our schools, because we're seeing restaurants go through this too. It's just it's a sign of the time across the board. Things just need to change. But like there's so many chains that are, you know, restaurants that we've grown up with that are just out the door.
They took my cheddar biscuits.
So
It's really hard. I'm sorry you went through that.
and I bought some at the supermarket and they weren't the same.
They're not the same.
Yeah. I digress.
I need somebody with a limp to walk
Oh,
up to
but
me and ask
Flav
me.
tried to save me yesterday. He bought the whole menu, tried to save Red Lobster. I was like, Flav, I just think you need to buy the franchise. It ain't. He tried to save
You can't buy 3 Admiral's feasts and think you're going to save the day. I'm sorry.
But,
oh my God.
I just want to know before they close, where are the lobsters going? The ones in the tank. Can I save
oh,
them?
do you want to say?
Can I save them?
Save the lobster? Right. What do you mean, Nudge? But what I would like to see is the bigger picture in my big mind. I would like if DCAD is not going to be what it is or what they built it to be for these past 27 years, I would love to see that building be a creative hub. Okay, so that would be my bigger picture because that building is literally set up to be a creative space. Every floor, every inch of that building is made for that. So to dissect it and make it into anything other than a creative space would be a travesty, right?
So you hear that? Certain developers
right?
stay away.
So but what I would love to see to save what has happened and reorganize it is for UD or Delaware State. I mean, even Wilmington University at this point. Any of the bigger institutions that have the capability to absorb that, like Del State took Wesley.
Or how Temple's talking about taking DCAD.
That's where my mind is. You are,
sorry,
yes.
sorry, DCAD.
And Temple already has a art and architecture
great
Tyler, right? So it could be done. Immediately, it could be done to take that. And I will say there is talks that Widener University is taking the Bank of America building, which is going to be tens and tens of millions of dollars. And if that could happen, to take that building and transform it, it could happen at DCAD. And it would have to be under, people would need to trust it because of, how it hasn't been trusted. But I would love to see somebody else absorb that, reorganize it, and still keep a dedicated art institution here if it doesn't be able to be a creative hub.
And quite frankly, this is where politics matter.
Yes.
Because this is where we have city officials, state, anyone. I know that y'all are watching this. Maybe not everybody, but like enough of y'all are watching this. Like nobody wants that space to turn into apartments.
No.
The people do not want that.
We don't need no more apartments.
We don't need that. The people
that you can't afford.
want art.
and I also said on that post, if it becomes apartments, I hope the artists tag it.
Listen,
that's where I'm at with it. I want to see it covered like LA if you make it to an apartment.
What I love about that suggestion, about all of your suggestions, is there's been a lot, and also thinking about tying in what you said earlier about mismanagement. There are a lot of people mismanaging funds and resources in this city. And because of that, a lot of things are failing.
It's a lot of hoarding wealth, and it doesn't reach the
and
people.
opportunity, like gatekeepers.
And here's another, I think, we could talk forever, but I think this needs to be said too. And I've been having this thought a lot this week. DCAD folded, and other art institutions have also. No one really recognizes how much the average business and space, everyone's walking on a thin line. Everyone's walking. All of these big venues that have in these big acts, they are struggling too. Everybody is struggling. So don't, no one, there's probably no one watching this who's honest with themselves about the creative business or the business that they run. And they're like, yeah, I'm just, swimming in cash. Everyone is struggling. So all the more reason for us to consider this situation, learn from it, and do a little bit better.
Because I still love fashion, so I still be connected.
So do I, can you tell?
Absolutely.
Right?
Tell me where. Joan Rivers.
I'm alumni.
But I will say this. We have to take into consideration things that have happened that have become successful. So when you look at the major fashion houses, right? They were all separate. We've seen in the last couple years, I think they're kind of better now. But if you remember, they started collaborating. Why would Gucci collaborate with another fashion house? Why would and then like a long-running collaboration, Stella McCartney and Adidas, Yeezy and Adidas. So the bigger fashion houses, the huge ones, even they were going through a problem area, probably a little bit around COVID, where they said, now I got to collaborate with this other big fashion house where we were competitors. Now let's bring it together.
Let's be a community.
Let's be a community and make this thing work. I'm waiting to see Burger King and McDonald's make it happen. Because, you know what I'm saying?
At the end of the day, if there are two, listen, you can't be two big conglomerates trying to eat off the same plate.
I want a McWhopper.
Is somebody gonna starve? So when you work together and
I want a McWhopper. That's what I'm saying, Jay. Have it your way. He wants a McWhopper.
I swear, oh God.
I'm glad you're in the middle separating us.
Obviously, it's not enough.
Oh man.
But I'm glad we had this conversation.
This has been great.
Because Cardi B did she do McDonald's?
Yes, she did.
Meg Thee Stallion did Popeyes.
So did
Saweetie, Popeyes, Meg Thee Stallion. So there is we just got to
Cardi did Reebok too. I had a pair of them.
So we gotta be creative.
Yes.
We can't. It has
creative
to be
and collaborative.
Creative, collaborative. It takes business as well. So, but you can't exclude the creative minds that can really. Literally, the creative minds are what is moving the city of Wilmington. Literally. Literally. It don't. If we all stopped, it would be nothing here. Nothing. So there is ways to creatively make this happen, but the person and the people who are in charge have to have their finger on the pulse. They have to include the creatives here. If they don't, it will not happen. And I would hate to see the soul firm up and leave and go to Miami. I'm just saying.
I feel like you threatened me.
I didn't.
It was an attack. I felt like I was attacked.
Now, Nataki, I know I gained a little weight. Don't have me out here to start boxing with Jay, because that's what's going to happen if you try to leave.
Because she got long arms and a real good jab, right?
We came here about peace. We came here about peace.
We're going to leave in pieces.
Not pieces.
Not pieces. But like, seriously, like, don't push us because we're close to the edge, you know. So expansion would be beautiful, but there are people who I know would just probably up and leave, and we don't want that. We really don't. We want Matt to be able to come back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes, we want you we want you to stay, but if you can't, we want you to come back.
Yeah, but we don't want to see y'all up and leave, and we never see y'all again.
The reason that Nataki is here, you know, in this space right now, and the reason that Naj and I do what we do is because we fundamentally believe in the deepest parts of ourselves that Wilmington has a huge unmet potential.
Yes.
And we're just trying to get it where we think it can be.
Yeah. Right.
And at the end of the day, if we meet that potential, everyone will benefit.
Everybody
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing.
Everybody
you know?
wins.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just got to move a couple egos out the way. There's a lot of egos that we got to, you know.
Use them long arms.
That's it. Cut. We're done.
Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
We're done.
Go ahead, Matt.
So this is just kind of like, we're in regards to the show and everything. I will be there. The art that you saw, most if not all of that, will be for sale. And something I'm like working on in my own like personal life. 50% of whatever I make will be going to Palestinian families.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, like be there, buy it, please.
See that?
That's like pretty much it. I just
See
wanted
that?
to throw it in there.
Like even still, she is giving back. Like
Because artists,
seriously.
what I will say is there are a lot of artists, like true artists, who are about the people. Like we're about our art, but at our core, we're about our people, our community. We're passionate, loving, kind people. And when you support us, we support you. So thank you for having this conversation with us.
Thank you for having me to have this
Anything
conversation.
else you wanted to say, Matt?
No, that's pretty much it. Just again, be there, please buy the art.
Yes. Yes. And talk.
Yes.
You got anything else?
I don't. I'm with the students right now. I'm with the students. And I just want to say, I guess I do got something to say. Hire the teachers, the professors.
Yes.
Hire the professors. They're really, really qualified. So, you know, I commented on one of the professors' page, like, I wish I had a solution for you as well. So let's not forget the professors as well.
Yeah, because it's hard out here in general, and then to just lose your job.
So that's all I had. Just be here. Be here, support the students.
Jay and I will be behind the scenes working on something ourselves, and hopefully we'll have something to offer. But to all of the students that are dealing with this, we love you, we support you, and we wish you the best. And remember that you matter. Your art matters. Thank you for watching.